Hello, hello. This is something I have owed everyone for a while. Reading the final chapter of Attack on Titan. It's been out for, I think, around a year now, so I'm sure everybody watching this has already read it. But if you're curious what I think of it, as we've read almost this entire series together over the last, geez, I don't even know how many years. Probably close to 10 years, right? Like, I think the series has been running since 2009, maybe. Yeah, 2009. And then I was probably making YouTube videos about it starting in like 2014, 2015 or so. So it's been a long, long journey we've been on together reading this series over two YouTube accounts and with many breaks and hiatuses, and the longest hiatus, of course, coming between the penultimate chapter and now. But it's time. At last, it's time. I just reread the 4 or 5 chapters before this, which were mostly, the gigantic climactic battle on the back of the founding Titan, where all of the reincarnations of the previous 9 Titans came back. There was a gigantic, chaotic fight. In the end, Armin, by going into the path, the immortal heaven-like world of all Eldians, and convincing Ymir and Zeke that there is more to life than just immortality. There's more to do than just trying to escape this mortal coil of nihilistic reproduction. It's just quite a beautiful scene. I really, really like the image of Armin holding the leaf and Zeke seeing it as the baseball, like each of them kindling the experiences that mattered most to them into reality. Anyways, after that, now it's like two final forces, the Centipede leading an army of Titanified bystanders, and Eren himself, who turned into another kind of colossal Titan scale thing. Mikasa popping into his mouth, chopping off the head of real Eren, and kissing it as Ymir smiles, looking on, her eyes unobscured. That's where we're at. And what the heck can we say about such a thing? What's going on? Okay, what's going on? What can they do in this final chapter? I think there's a few directions we can take it. One is, oh, now the world is at peace. The era of Titan tyranny is over. Everyone can live out their days peacefully and happily. Let's check in on a few people. Let's see, like, Historia's baby. Let's see some couples that form. Let's see some other babies. Let's see Mikasa living in peace for once in her entire life in some remote village. It's option one. Option two is we dive into that final elusive mystery, which is like there's like prophetic aspects to the Attack Titan, that Eren has like a dream near the start of the series that foreshadows stuff, and then the previous holder of the Attack Titan, Owl, that was Owl, right? The spy for Marley, or the spy infiltrating Marley for Eldian people, was like, do it for Mikasa and Armin, and and Aaron's dad was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So like kind of diving into that, it's not necessarily like a time loop. It is more just kind of like prophetic visions and stuff, but implying that there's still like some reset to come or something like that. I don't know. I don't know exactly what this would be, but it kind of feels like if they're really going to go full circle to kind of the earliest mysteries of the series, that they would do something like that. The third option is something completely crazy happens, some new threat emerges, that the final chapter actually still has more battling, and I have no idea what that would look like. I suppose this centipede thing is still writhing and thrashing around. And this is something that existed before Ymir and isn't really under Ymir's control, I think. So that is still something they need to subdue, I guess. But Ymir is still the one that controls the Titans, so it's little Titan army there. Ymir can just be like, no, no, no. I think. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. Let's plunge ahead. With this, the final chapter showing the cast as kids, somewhat anachronistically, you know, some of these guys weren't kids at the same time, but it's nice. Oh no no, this is all the original gang. Cause yeah, that's Reiner and Berthold. Yeah yeah. Sorry, I thought for a second that that was Commander Man, but no, this is the actual OG Scouting Legion as kids, as we knew them once before. All right, it's cute. I don't know. It's making me hope for a nice peaceful ending. I think that would be nice. Attack on Titans ending. Here are some of the celebratory postcards we've gotten from the fans. That's nice. 11 years and 7 months. My gosh. A good solid run. It started off as like kind of a niche cult hit that if you're into manga, this was one of the manga you talked about. And then the anime happened and it became a global phenomenon, as popular as pretty much any anime gets. And certainly perhaps the most popular in this kind of like dark, intense, morally ambiguous kind of style. Like usually the most popular shows have a bit more broad appeal than this, but it really, really captured the imagination of people around the world. Probably because of that opening theme. People went wild for that. Okay. Okay. So, they're kids again. They're existing in some sort of dreamlike state, I would imagine. I know that you did it because of the future you saw with the Attack Titan's powers, but still, you beat me to a pulp. Why? Did you really have to kick me like that? Desperate to push you all away, I just went with it, even though I couldn't not understand why I was doing it really. I just realized, in all of the scenarios I talked about, another ingredient is there needs to be some sort of redemption for Eren. There's no way they're gonna let the series end with like, oh yeah, Eren is like a psychopath. He wished for the entire world's suicide essentially. He was willing to sacrifice all of his friends and family for, no sympathetic reason. No. They're gonna dive a little more into why Eren was doing what he was doing, I think. And if not make him sympathetic, then at least, make him connect him more with the character that we've followed throughout this entire series. Make it really seem like this is part of his overall arc and not just this aberration of judgment right at the end. Should be telling that to Mikasa, not me. It'll hurt her if I tell her this drabble. Was it all to make us the one that can push you away into heroes that would save humanity from ruin by your hands? Oh, okay. This kind of seems like sour grapes. Imagine you're playing in like a fighting game tournament and you're just being like a massive dick to everybody, and then somebody beats you and you're like, hey, guess what? I was just acting like an asshole so that when you beat me, everybody would like you. You're welcome. How far would that fly? To try to convince people, oh, it was all an act and I meant to lose. Some major sour grapes from Eren, but this sort of scheme, it's not a fighting game tournament. This makes a lot more sense in the world of the series where the Eldian people have been persecuted ever since their inception and would continue to be persecuted even more in the event of this failed rumbling, unless they could publicly, in full glory, be defeated by other Eldians. Eldians that will now be revered and kept safe from the entire world. I see. Will become like the Tibber family after the Great Titan War. Protect Paradise Islands from retaliation by what's left of humanity outside of the walls. So yeah, Armin makes a good point. Oh, this kind of already happened. There was like some good Eldians, they had the Warhammer Titan lineage, they were seen as saviors, and guess what? They're all dicks. They persecuted the rest of the Eldians, they ghettoized them, they just looked the other way, and the rest of the world went on with their horrible mistreatment. And Eren's like, no, it's different this time, because I'm just going to kill 80% of humanity. And that'll give the powers that be long enough to stabilize, I suppose. Not necessary to go that far. All of it just for our sake. The place where we wanted to go. On the way there, I'll tell you the story of the founder Ymir. Because yeah, Armin has a good point here. In the end, okay, this scheme kind of makes sense. This is maybe the only path forward to save the Albion people as a whole, to save them from persecution, to save them from another invasion, blah, blah, blah. But is that good? Is that a worthy sacrifice? Is that, like, worth doing if you're going to end up killing 80% of the population? I'm very curious about the story of the founder Ymir. Because we already know that, right? We know she fed the pigs and the guy was abusive and she fell into the well and the centipede titanized her and stuff. Oh! Okay, this is cool. These are the places that Armin knew about, that Armin had read about in books. These fantastical places around the world. Okay. So he is already telling Armin the story. I guess this is stuff that we, the reader, know, and that Eren knows because he was mind-linked, just chatting with Ymir or whatever. But Armin and the rest don't actually know about. Burned down her home, killed her parents, and cut out her tongue. Even after she was given a godlike power, she stayed subordinate to him. What on earth made her do that? Huh. What? Ymir loved the king. Even though he was so abusive to her, killing her family, burning down her home, cutting out her tongue, and generally just treating her like shit all the time. Why? What's going on? That is what's been binding Ymir for over 2,000 years. I can understand what hides deep in ancestor Ymir's heart, but I know that for a fact she is suffering and she wants to be set free. For 2,000 years, she has suffered love and kept searching for someone to free her from it. And finally, that person arrived, and that person is Mikasa. Huh? What? So here they've gone to the Aurora Borealis, another wonder of the world. Are they getting older too? Is the implication that this is kind of, aging them? They look older, right? Their outfits are the same. But I think they're getting older, right? Their faces look older. Is this a thing? That'd be a nice poetic image, I think. They're telling the story, they're going from storied location to storied location. Armin is finally having his tour of the natural majesty of the world. And they're aging all the way from the children that we met all the way to the adults that are at this, final conflict. Okay, why the heck? So Ymir loved Karl Fritz, and because of that was totally subordinate to him and did not take any control or agency for herself for 2,000 years. She was so burdened by this overwhelming love, which was so debilitating that she could never act against him. And then Mikasa is the one that broke her free from her love. How? Why is it Mikasa? The only one who knows that is the ancestor Ymir. I myself am not sure what it is that Mikasa will do. The only thing I know for sure is the result of the choice that Mikasa will make kept moving forward only so I could arrive at that result. Slaughtering 80% of humanity, making everyone fucking kill each other in Paradise Island. Yeah, I remember there was like 3 arcs before this, where it was all like the anti-Eren, pro-Eren people just like murking each other non-stop. The fuck? Yeah, he put through things a lot. The future you saw at the medal ceremony. Ever since then, you've been suffering on your own. No, everybody's been suffering. What do you mean suffering on your own? Everybody's been suffering. Just because he knows that he has to make everyone suffer to bring about some fated conclusion that he knows is the only way forward, doesn't mean that that everybody else isn't suffering. My mind got all messed up. The effect of the power of the Founding Titan has no past nor future. They exist at the same time. So I guess this explains why the Attack Titan has these prophetic visions, is that in the path, I guess, or in some even higher plane of titanized existence born from that centipede thing, there is no past, there is no future. It exists on a higher dimension where all of time is simultaneous, like a spatial dimension. Maybe? I don't know. That day, that time, Berthold had to stay alive. That's why I made that Titan look away. Bruh, how long have you been plotting this stuff? At the medal ceremony. When Armin said, oh, this feature you saw at the medal ceremony, I was like, well, I don't remember what that is. But I thought it was when friggin' the family, we were just talking about them, the Warhammer Titan family, when they were having their little self-congratulatory play or something. I thought that's what Armin was talking about, because that was around when Eren started working totally independently. Like, he had that team up with Reiner and then the big surprise attack and blah blah blah. But no, this is like way back when they were kids. He made Berthold stay alive. Huh? I'm coming back from a year's hiatus here, folks. And I'm confused. What is the significance of it? That's why I made that Titan look away. So Bernhard, Annie, and Reiner, and then R.I.P. Gillette, or whatever that guy's name is, Gillard, all infiltrated from Marley, Paradise Island, so that they could be undercover in the Survey Corps and sabotage efforts to de-titanize the island, right? During the chaos of the initial invasion, where Eren's mom dies, Eren knows already Bernhold has to stay alive. So Bernhold has de-titanized. He's just a little kid. He could easily die. Eren distracts the Titan to keep Berthold alive? I guess? And Armin is like, but then he's like, I don't care. Let's go. Oh yeah, they're definitely becoming adults. Okay, I'm not crazy. So what do you think will happen to her, to Mikasa? You're gonna be able to forget about you and go on living happily with someone else like you want her to. Don't know. Why is this their concern? I do really like this shot of Eren getting punched. That's awesome. But I don't know. Okay, this is like a beef I have with stories in general, right? I like a good romance subplot. I think when they're well developed, it can give like a whole kind of additional layer to the characters, which is really endearing and motivating, and it increases your emotional stakes. But like there's this feeling that a lot of series have, that when you're pushing towards the climax of the overall story, you have to have all of your major plot lines climax at the exact same time. So you have, the fate of the world, the fate of humanity as a species is on the line. But then also on the line is the relationship between the two main characters. And it's like, it makes you kind of lose the compassion and the compelling aspects of the relationship when you're like, I don't care about that right now. Sure, I hope it works out for them. Let's move on. And so many series do this. Usually it's like a quick aside before like the final battle or whatever. The two love interests will be like, we might not make it out of here, and I still feel bad that our last conversation ended like that. And the other one's like, oh, I know, but in my heart of hearts, I knew that once we get through to the other side of this, we'll be able to really express ourselves. And like, yeah. And then when they fight, you're like, yeah, okay. But even then, it's kind of tedious, and to have it kind of happen like after the actual story climax, and we're still expected to care about Aaron turning down Mikasa's feelings. I don't know. I don't know. I guess maybe this ties into it somehow. That Ymir seeing, is it that Ymir saw Mikasa kiss Aaron's decapitated head and was like, love sucks. I'm over my crush on the king. This is stupid. Is that what was going through her head? It must have something to do with that, right? Because that was right at the end of the last chapter. Like, that was the lingering image of the penultimate chapter, was Ymir smiling as she saw Mikasa kiss Aaron's decapitated head. So what does it mean? Okay. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, I guess this is like a comedic moment, sure, but it feels really out of character. And like, I don't know, was there really that much of like a romantic plotline between them? Because there was kind of the twist of like, oh, Mikasa, it's not so much that you actually love Eren, it's that Ackerman genetic code was triggered when you saw Eren in danger, and you rose up to the occasion to save him. And then you were kind of like, wow, now I don't know what to believe. Like, I don't really know what Mikasa's feelings kind of are. And that was really kind of left unresolved. Like, I'd say there wasn't really, like, kind of a triumphant moment where Mikasa's like, even though I'm an Ackerman, I still love Eren. Like, I mean, maybe there was a scene like that, but, like, it didn't resonate with me enough that this seems not just bizarre and really out of character. And Eren really is saying something really shitty here, right? Like, he treated Mikasa like shit. He, like, actively tried to destroy her mind and sense of self in their last meeting. And now, he's acting like the friggin' selfish jerk. I don't want to die. I want to be with Mikasa with everyone. What? Okay, so now we're starting, they're full adults again. And we gotta start wondering, what the heck is actually going on? Is this the path? Is this just a dream sequence? Is it a dream sequence shared by those two actual people? Or is this just Eren's conjured up image of Armin? And what the heck are they trying to do? They're trying to come back to life, I guess. Eren got decapitated. Armin, I thought, was chill. You know, he got freed and he colossal titan eyes and he was punching Eren, but he didn't die or anything. So what the heck is going on here? Okay, so there's no way I can be forgiven. Here we see the aftermath of the rumbling. Even without knowing if you can stop it all in the end or not, I think I would still flatten this world until nothing was left. Forests will go largely extinct. For many days after, the flies who feasted on dead flesh will fill the earth. I do like this. This is a fantastic shot. Just the unnatural terrain already kind of like settling into a natural state, I think is really wonderful. With those big billowing clouds of smoke in the distance. And this line about the flies who feasted on dead flesh will fill the earth. That's metal as fuck. Yeah, again, the question is why. I wanted to destroy the world and make it anew. I thought this was all to protect the Eldians. So what? Yeah, why? Eren, that would be your name. I don't really know why, but I wanted to do it no matter what. Huh. Armin's time, I will erase all the memories of what happened to you here. Here as in the dream world, whatever this is, which is still the real world too, even though it's not like the path where it's just all sand and tree and end of Evangelion. It's like actually the same world as the world, right? The next time we meet, we'll be facing off as enemies, but still, when it's all over, you'll probably remember this. Eren, thank you. For becoming a mass murderer just for us. I swear I won't let this all be in vain. Did he pick up like a turd? Oh, it's a seashell. I guess this symbolizes, his connection to the ocean, that he always wanted to see the ocean. I guess. For becoming a mass murderer just for us. Okay. Don't know what will happen after I'm dead. You'll be able to get to the other side of the wall. The one who saved humanity, Harmon, it is you. Okay. Now he is on the boat. This is the boat that Annie and Falco and the rest were evacuating on. And then Falco was like, I can fly. And then they flew off and they joined the fight. Is this all happening before that? Or is this a different boat? Or is this just another stage of Dreamworld? Okay, so I don't know what that was, but I guess that happened before Eren got his head chopped off. And I guess that's what Eren was saying about Mikasa is the one that's going to free Ymir. That action of freeing Ymir was actually the chopping off of his head, I guess. Because he says the next time we meet, we're going to be enemies. Which makes me think this is before the whole battle, even. Okay, now it's after the battle for sure. Armin has de-titanized. You can see his titan bones melting away. Eren is also down for the count. His real body being beheaded within his colossal titan-y body. Okay. He's like, yeah, I'm alive. I remember now. So I guess it's like, he had that dream sequence with Eren. He learned all this stuff. Then Eren was like, JK, I don't know why I told you all of this because I'm going to wipe your memory. And then he's like, well, after we fight, maybe you'll remember this stuff again. And now he's like, okay, I remember the previous 25 pages. I guess. Okay. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of confused. But I think that's what's going on. Mikasa shows up holding Eren's decapitated head. Kind of looking like La Pieta. Am I wrong? A little. This is what comes to mind for me. Is the image of one of the all-time goated famous sculptures. The two key qualities in my mind is always the serenity on Mary's face, which we see in Mikasa's face, and the fact that Jesus's body is like really small. Like they shrunk down Jesus relative to Mary. And so you get this sense of like Mary kind of just like impossibly creating the entirety of Jesus. It's subtle, but when you really think about it, Jesus is teeny tiny. Okay. Anyways, that doesn't matter. It just reminds me of that. And Eren is like, dead. And Mikasa is like, and Armin's like, got your memories back too of the time Eren came to see us. Yes, and I heard that the result of the choice that you made would make the power of the Titans disappear from this world. Okay, so everybody de-titanizes. People with named inherited Titan powers. People that were just schmoes that got caught up in the centipede's Titanification smoke. We got Gabby, we got Falco, we got Reiner, and even big boy, name always eludes me, is here. John, right? That's John, right? I remember. Too sincere for your own good, stupid bastard. Eren says, my mom will turn back into a human too. So Eren visited everybody, I guess. He took them all on this like world tour pre-rumbling. Because I guess he thought, oh, if I just straight up tell you what I'm doing and why, you're going to have too much hesitation and you won't be able to kill me. You're going to be constantly thinking of some other way. But if I really convince you I am just the psychopath that wants to kill everybody for no good reason, then you are going to be capable of killing me and achieving my goal of getting killed and making you guys into heroes. But he wanted people to understand that that was the point so that they would act correctly, I guess, and make that future come about after everything is done, after the detitanification, and, you know, like, live a peaceful, happy life afterwards. So he had to embed these, like, time delay messages that would only re-trigger in their memory after he dies. Okay. Okay, that all makes sense. It's convoluted, for sure, but it does make sense. Like, I get it. And it makes sense, like, from a motivation standpoint. Like, that was a sensible thing to do. Alright. I have to do that first, you suicidal bastard. 2. Everybody's happy. There's still some, like, big titans in the background. I guess those are, like, the wall titans. The rumbling titans. They're done rumbling, but now they're just standing there, I guess. Oh, no, never mind. What? Okay, wait, let's look at this previous page again. They're big. They're definitely big and in the distance, but they're not titans. Even though titans have been depicted that way many, many times throughout the series, I think this is like a deliberate visual language misdirect. We see these big silhouettes in the distance, but in fact it is the dead. Every relevant character that died throughout the series, or at least the ones that Levi is friends with. You know what it reminds me of is the end of the Seventh Seal. Seeing the silhouette of those who died from plague doing the dance with death on the cliffside. But I feel like the messaging is actually very, very different than that. So this is the outcome of all of you offering your hearts. They do the Scouting Legion pose for the final time. Sure. In the end, this was really one of the big iconographies of the series. Right up there with the Colossal Titan itself. Was doing this, having the Scouting Legion backpack or jacket or whatever, the logo and stuff. So it makes sense that in the end, in the final chapter, they would give this a little prolonged tribute. Seeing their comrades fading into smoke. And this is kind of like a transcendent thing, right? There is also a scene of when the Henge, that's her name, you know, the glasses-wearing Titan of obsessed scientist commander person, when they were dying, they also saw a whole bunch of their comrades, and they were like, yeah. And this is like a totally transcendent thing. Like, there's no lore explanation for this. This isn't Ymr's power. This isn't a glimpse into the path. This is something different. This is like an afterlife. This is like a god type thing that's happening, which is interesting. Hear that? My dishwasher's done. How exciting. Anyways. No longer the Armor Titan. Some tearful reunions, big hugs. Gabby Falco suplex hug, sure. Won't let me give Eren a proper burial. Let him rest someplace in peace. He's rested in that place. Yeah, I think that's a fine place. Gonna go up to that tree on that hill. Isn't that back on Paradise Island? Aren't they like on the shore of Marley right now? I don't know. Like, I guess she can get there somehow. I don't know where else they would put him. So Mikasa leaves with Eren's head. Armin wiping the dust from his eyes. Alright. So the circles of violence, the endless cycle of violence and revenge and stuff. This is a major theme of the series, and I think one of the best expressed themes And something that really, came to a head during this final super climactic battle where everybody's scrabbling around on the Founding Titan. There's a scene where the Eldians show up and they're like, can we please treat our wounded? And the Marlians are like, you devils. and somebody riding on Falco is like, what the fuck are they doing? Don't they realize the world is about to end? And I thought at the time they had come to like an agreement. They came to like a ceasefire. Somebody shot their gun up in the air. I was just rereading these and I already forgot, but somebody was able to make them kind of understand, oh wait, this is stupid. But now there's tension again, I guess, because this big fight is over and everyone has survived. Just human beings now. Here now, show some proof. Are you humans or are you Titans? You can't prove a negative. What are you talking about? I don't know, I don't know what they expect them to do. If there is those still here with the power of the Titans, they would use that power to resist and fight back. None of them fight back, even when you point your guns at them, is the best proof that all of them are merely powerless humans now. You are Armin, the man who killed the attack Titan Eren Yeager. No, that was Mikasa. I guess they tag teamed them, they both contributed. I suppose he's also just taking the full responsibility so Mikasa can kind of just slink away and nobody will kind of, see her as a person of importance that needs to be around. Okay, we're moving into the final 10 pages. Now we're getting the first ending that I expected where we jump around and see everybody's peaceful, happy lives. Here's Historia with her kid. He's having his her third birthday, I don't know, kid's ambiguous gender. Somebody with some groceries, I guess that's like her husband. She probably should have gotten together with Ymir, like not ancestor Ymir, but modern day Ymir who'd been wandering around in the Blind Titan rage. She deserved that. That Ymir deserved a win. Kind of sad, but whatever. Countless lives were lost, and even those who carry scars from which there is no recovery, as the grieving world has feared. In the country of Eldia, the army put together by the Jaegerists gathers its strength for a military expansion. They fear retaliation from what is left of humanity on the other side of the ocean. The people of the island raise their voice as one. Huh? Okay, so this is kind of what Eren expected. The world is going to have its power depleted by like 80% because of the rumbling. And even if there is still animosity towards the Eldians, even though the Eldians were the ones to stop the rumbling, there's nothing they can do because they're so weak. But Eren also, I assume, expected that this would lead to the end of all Titans. So it's like, are the Eldians actually that weak? There's not that many of them, and now they don't have the power of Titans or the Wall Titans or anything like that. So now they need to militarize. And this is hella fashy, this militarization. So is this all still part of Eren's plan? Win and live, lose and die. Do not fight, we cannot win. Fight. I mean, this is no good. This is like scarcely better than the situation before Eren's ridiculous plan. It's debatably not even that better for the Eldians themselves. All they have is a better fighting chance, but they still need to perpetually fight. Right? Is this not like a lateral move at best? Okay, well, we still got 9 pages. Eldia and the rest of the world, until one of the sides disappears, the fighting will never cease. What Eren said might have turned out to be true after all, and still Eren chose to entrust this world to us. Right now we live on. In this world without Titans. Yeah, that is gross. Alright, so they're all bickering, Pieck is here now, Pieck's part of the gang. As expected of Pieck. They're going to some sort of like historic photo shoot or something. On this previous page you can see the minister from that country, the Japanesey country that Mikasa is from. Paradise Island is on the horizon. I think this will go smoothly. Group destroyed the walls, betrayed the people of the island, killed Eren, the man they all revered. Sealing is on together like this. They all want to know our story. Okay, so they get to Paradise Island. I think? Yeah? Maybe? That's what I'm trying to... I want to hear this fascinating story of ours. What? Okay. So let's tell them all about it. So yeah, she does end up going back to Paradise Island. I don't know how she got back on her own with Eren's head. But I suppose she has her ways. And yeah, it's at the tree on the hill that they were racing around and they loved as kids, where Eren had his prophetic little nap at the start of the series. Okay, sure. The walls are gone. The Titans popped out of them. I wish I could see you again. Oh, the bird helps her wrap her scarf. The bird is Eren. Thank you for wrapping the scarf around me. Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay, let's work backwards. So the final message of this series is that, like, dealing with the cycles of violence... Wait a minute. Wait. What? I didn't see these pages. What the heck? The other Scanlation group. What? Am I crazy? This one ended at page 52. Huh? What? This one, the last page is the tree, and Mikasa is like, Eren, thank you for wrapping the scarf around me. And there's like half of a bird, and I was like, oh, this is kind of a weird ending. And then I opened the other scans, just kind of like incidentally, and there's 4 more pages. What? What? Okay, so let's read these pages. Here is the family, many generations later, it seems, coming to pay their respects to Eren. I don't know who these people are, but they must be the descendants of Mikasa or Armin, or both, or something. Because they know that Eren, in his own way, was a hero that brought about these times. Before, we could see that from this tree, it was nothing but plains and rolling hills until you get to the original Citadel cities of Paradise Island. But now, in the far future, Paradise Island kind of looks like London. There's a lot of buildings, a lot of cars. It's like the 20s, the 30s even. What? Okay. Now it's way later. It's like modern day, and it's modern warfare. We can see stealth bombers. Mikasa's dying. Okay, so that's Mikasa and with the crutch. Okay, so these two shots are like years and years apart. Mikasa with her cane, and then Mikasa, her withered hand, leaving one final rose. Mikasa buried. Next scene, modern metropolis getting bombed by stealth bombers. Now lying in rubble around that same tree. That same tree... Hold the phone. Where again did friggin' Ymir, as a little pig-feeding brat, encounter the titanifying centipede? It was that she saw like this big gnarly old tree and went into a gap in the base of it and then fell into a pool of water. A tree that looks remarkably like this very, very tall tree with like a gap in the base. And now this little kid and his little doggy is coming along to restart the era of Titans? Okay, okay, okay. Let's again work our way backwards, I think. And we'll try to say something meaningful about this series as a whole. But it's going to be... This is a lot. This is a lot to process. Okay, so that ending went in quite a few different directions very quickly. I think the very strong emphasis that, like, for all your so-called progress, war never ends. There will always be conflict as long as two groups of humans exist, is really bleak. Given that the explicit theme of almost every like righteous crusade in this series was ending the cycle of violence. That we have one force acting against another force, and we're encouraged to see not one force as righteous and the other one as evil, but instead both of them misguided in that they continue perpetuating violence against one another instead of having this like transcendental forgiveness. The entire series is about this, or at least in like the second half of it, when they start really humanifying the Marleyan forces, and why did Reiner do what he did, and you know, why are they afraid of the Eldians, and blah 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 blah. So like the end result being that like no, Aaron's huge scheme to end the cycle of violence failed, because now Paradise Island is like this fascist warmongering state, and that even millennia afterwards, when all of these battles are like irrelevant, it's just because even more advanced, even more insanely world-shaking battles are taking place in all the same locations. Am I crazy, or is that really, really, really bleak? This is like a profoundly hopeless ending, right? That there is no escape from this. That the children of the far future will know war. Like, this kid doesn't look like he's out for a fun little stroll. This kid looks like he's trying to survive. And in doing so, will reignite this ancient weapon, which who knows if it's even relevant anymore. Like, maybe as soon as somebody titanifies, they're just going to be like, all right, nuke. It's over. But regardless, the fact that they didn't even properly end the era of Titans, that all of Aaron's grandstanding about, I want the world of Titans to be over, I want to eradicate every single Titan, which he had been saying since chapter 1, and we thought he had accomplished. But this is very, very clearly suggesting that this kid is going to go in there and meet a centipede, and it's all going to start up again. It's like... I mean, I'm notorious for thinking things are bleaker and more depressing than they are, but like, this is like a truly, truly hopeless ending, right? And I gotta say, I'm usually eager to read in bleak, depressing endings because I think they're great. And I think things that reflect the heaviness and the futility and the meaninglessness of life can be really powerful and really affecting, and really make you feel like you're getting in touch with like a deeper humanity. But I read manga as like usually like an escape from that sort of medium. Especially like battle series where a team of people that you are cheering for go up against forces, and through their struggles and their perseverance, they make a positive change in the world, right? That's the sort of story I thought this ultimately would be. And now that it's not, I'm not so much like, wow, what a powerful testament to the deep nature of humanity. I'm just kind of like, come on. Really? You're not going to let anybody have like a victory in the end? Just a little one? Just one thing that you can say, yes, this has changed for the better? Not one. You could say, oh, okay, well, Armin and Mikasa presumably lived the rest of their lives out peacefully and happily. That's a victory. But we don't even get to see that. We don't even get to enjoy that. We get one panel of Mikasa, and then we get a panel of her dead. And Armin doesn't show up at all. He's just hanging out on the boat, and he sees the Eren bird, and he kind of feels a little profoundly sad. And there's a sense that, this may not even work. The fascist Jaegerist army on Paradise Island is probably going to be, wanting to expand and wage war and stuff, regardless of what they say. There's not even a scrap of victory here, right? And so it kind of seems to really undermine the achievement and the triumph of the previous chapters. Oh, yeah, we convinced Ymir that connections between people and living life, that was important. We broke her free of her crush on the king. I guess, somehow. We ended Titans forever. We created this sort of peace between the Marleyans and the Eldians. None of that really matters. It matters only temporarily, and we're quickly whisked along to the point at which it became futile. It's really weird. It's really, really weird to me that they would end it like this. My only theory is that they want to do the sequel. They want to do a sequel that's set in modern times, where the era of Titan begins again, and then now they're dealing with modern weaponry and modern civilization and modern media and stuff like that. Which could be kind of interesting, but I don't think you should spoil your original series, which is so acclaimed and had such a successful run, with a sequel hook. If that's what you're doing, I think that's really bad. Why not instead start the new series with it's thousands of years later, war is still going on, oh no, but maybe this kid stumbling into the power of Titans, maybe this time something will change. Set up a new conflict. Why not let this one just end with some moment of peace, some moment of catharsis, some moment of satisfaction after 11 years of suffering? Like, it was a miserable series. There wasn't very many happy times for the characters. The people were always dying. There's constant war. You're never really sure if anybody's cause was universally righteous. There's betrayals. There was disappointment. There was failure. You really couldn't give them a proper happy ending. This is so weird. And then, okay, now I'm thinking so those final 4 pages weren't in the one scanlation version. They were just in the other one. Okay, so the other one was added 2 months ago. And then the first one I read, that was only 52 pages, from 9 months ago. So did 7 months later they add these 4 pages? Maybe when the Tankobon version came out? As a hook for a sequel? But even before they added those 4 pages, they really, really were encouraging you not to think of this as like a happy ending, right? The final message is like, yeah, we're probably going to keep fighting. Like, we probably just have to keep fighting forever. And Eren just trusts that it'll turn out okay. Okay. Well, that's the ending. I gotta say, I'm a little confused by it. Why is it like this? In terms of the final revelations at the start of this chapter, weird too. What did it mean that Ymir was in love with the king? That just seems like such a strange choice. Because we never really got any characterization of Ymir. There was no sense of wistfulness, of I don't know, because I think a story of someone who acts irrationally and not in their best interest because of this overwhelming feeling of love they have for someone that they can't deny and they can't overpower, they can't do anything. I think that's fine. I actually think that's a very compelling story, but you have to know the characters, right? You have to really, really know what kind of person it is that's experiencing that for it to be compelling. To just be told about it, about this avatar girl who like doesn't really exist in reality and is had her tongue cut out and has never said anything and spends most of her time just kind of like standing there looking into the distance or like this going I don't know. Oh, she had a crush on somebody. Okay. All right, let's go even further back though. Let's. Okay. So, what did I like about this series? In the early days, let's start from the back now. In the early days, I thought it was very nicely subversive when it came to the characterization. You know, like there was a good dynamic between the three main characters that didn't really feel cliche at the time. Now a lot of series are kind of like copying the style of characterization because Attack on Titan was such a success, but it is what it is. I really like the tactics of the early fights, the creativity they had to use to overpower the much more powerful Titans. There's a constant sense of dread and danger and a really overwhelming feeling of mystery. I think the mystery was what excited me the most. What are these Titans? Why do they exist? Why do they behave the way they do? Why do they have these weaknesses? Why does Eren turn into one? That was all very compelling. What the heck is in the basement? You know? I think the betrayals that started happening too, that Annie and Bertolt and Reiner all betrayed them. All that stuff, very compelling, very impactful, really good action scenes. I'd say the first time it kind of felt shaky to me was the whole arc that was just based around like, yeah, with like Kenny the Ripper and trying to overthrow the king and stuff that didn't really advance the mystery of the Titans and stuff that kind of just felt like it belonged in a different series, that it wasn't on the scale of the Titans, it wasn't like the visual language of the Titans and the way they move around with the 3D maneuver gear against these big foes and stuff. It just wasn't as interesting. But then it really started ramping up again. Once there was the revelation of what was in the basement and you learned about the greater world, I was actually very satisfied with all of those answers, with like the first big era of revelations where we learn about Marley, we learn about the history of Eldia and stuff. There's like a lot of flashbacks. You learn about Eren's dad. You learn about this whole like resistance movement. I thought all that stuff was really cool. And it really made the worldview of the series a lot more complex. That at first, you know, I mean, I don't know, are we really going to get into political readings of Attack on Titan? It's also muddled at this point. And I think it's very deliberately muddled. That I don't think the author ever set out to make like a super coherent political point. He certainly has like respect for a lot of the tenets of like fascism and militarism and stuff. But he's very, very deliberate about saying, okay, but these people aren't saints. These people aren't necessarily heroes. Everybody is just kind of taking the steps they need to do to survive, but we can admire, you know, their tenacity and their ruthlessness in surviving, right? I think that's kind of maybe the closest thing to like a consistent moral message is like, you have to kind of respect what people will do to keep themselves safe and to keep the people close to them safe. Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So the more complexity of that really emerges when we start learning about Marley and learning that they have kind of the same perspective, that they too feel like they're keeping the demons at bay, just like the people inside of the wall did. Even though, of course, the demons for the Marleyans are the Eldians, and the demons for the Eldians are the Marleyans. And I think it's those moments of like intertwining perspective. My absolute favorite chapters in the entire series are where we learn Reiner's backstory, and it kind of comes out in that conversation with Eren. And there's just that wonderful paneling. It still sticks with me of their memories kind of like cascading together into this one coherent narrative. That is, I think, when the series really flourished in terms of messaging and in terms of presentation too. Like the presentation of Attack on Titan, I think, has always been fantastic. It's the main reason why it got so successful, I think, is this visual language of the Titans and how they looked and how they moved and the 3D maneuver gear fighting against them and stuff. And the series was at its best when it could bring all of that to bear. But I feel like the parts that really stuck with me and made it interesting were just the really character-driven stuff and how that was depicted. Like the example I just gave of Reiner and Eren talking before Eren launches his mega surprise attack at the Marleyan Theater. In terms of the lore, I think the sweet spot for me is when we learned why the Titans were attacking, where they were attacking from, and the history of Marley. And then I almost wish that past that point they just completely let the Titans just be what they are. And it was never explained why they exist in the first place. All of this stuff about the founder Titan and the will of Titans and the attack Titan can see the future, all of that seemed unnecessary to me. I think at a certain point it kind of got up its own ass in terms of lore, where I talk about this at length in the Evangelion 4 review, what I mean by that term, but we were kind of expected to care about the lore on its own terms instead of like the lore's impact on characters, which like is just a lot less interesting to me. But I don't know. They really brought it on these final arcs. There was just a really powerful sense of like continuous escalation, going all the way back to kind of like the Jaegerist fights, the infighting and stuff among Paradise Island folks, moving towards greater and greater climaxes, and then a baffling ending. Yeah, overall I would say this is a series that I started reading because at the time it was quite niche, and it was this kind of like cult series that I thought, okay, I want to like learn what's going on here. Certainly if I had only found out about it after the anime got popular, I never would have bothered watching it or reading it, because this really isn't the type of series I normally like. It's not fun enough to qualify as like a battle shonen series that I like. The messaging isn't interesting enough for me to be like one of the more serious psychological series that I like, and the style of it, the gruesomeness, the brutality of it generally just isn't my cup of tea. But I will say that I'm glad that I read it. It was quite the journey. It was quite the phenomenon to see it blow up to this global scale as I read it. It was so fascinating to dive into the speculation, all of the mysteries, watching those unfold alongside the global audience, and making these videos. Making these videos is a lot of fun. I know sometimes I complained about it. I know you, the viewer, often complained because I would forget things and fail to recognize characters and get totally mixed up, and people would leave me comments being like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it was all a very unique experience because, as I said, this isn't the type of series I typically read. And I think, trying to engage with something like this that's so outside of my normal comfort zone is a really rewarding experience in and of itself. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Attack on Titan overall, even though I did have beef with some parts of it. And even though the ending to me is truly baffling, overall I think this is a very well done series. And there's certain arcs of it that I certainly will reread again in the future. I want to find that chapter where Reiner and Eren are talking. It's just so beautiful. It just has such this like poetic weight to it. All right, that's it. You had to wait a while, but we finally finished Attack on Titan. Thank you for joining me, whether it was just for this video or for any number of the dozens, if not hundreds, no, I guess not hundreds, but dozens of chapters we read together before this. It's been a good time. Okay, bye.